Hey everybody, welcome back. And we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to have a lot of different metrics. We're going to take a look at 2026. We're going to break this down into smaller videos, little shorts, as you will say. And as we do that, we'll try and we'll really kind of segment what to expect. Now, here's the funny thing. As we go through the metrics, we're going to talk about Zillow. We're going to talk about Redfin. We're going to talk about what metrics we are seeing, what we're using. We're going to show you where we came from and really how best to navigate 2026. Since the question is, are we heading in a really great direction or are we heading down like some of the other channels are saying? Let's find out. Okay, so first, let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about where we came from. So when we take a look at this chart, and again, this is why we're doing things a little bit different. Right here, you can see that this is the end of November, and at the end of November, our what we will call our average sales price was 728,308. So let's call it 728,000. And of course, when we come down here we go. And you can see each one of these valleys is where January starts. Situation normal. And as you can tell, we have been heading in a positive direction. And the reason I say that and the reason that's important is because there's a lot of folks that are saying, oh, we keep going down, we keep going down, we keep going down. And I keep saying, no, that's not exactly the case. We actually are heading in a very level, just not a massive, increase, but just a gradual 1.5% improvement, as we've been proceeding through the year, anywhere between half to about 1%, but in a positive direction. And then, you're going to see there's some other metrics out there. So remember, man, right? There's lies, there's damn lies, and then there's statistics. Now, mine, I keep very consistent. I only use residential only. This happens to be all of the Northwest MLS. All right. So if we come back and we blow this up, we can see that our average home price has been going up. And, again, these are cycles. So this is this year to date. However, if I come over and I take a look at what I do with Trend Graphics and my friends there, we run numbers every single day. And in fact, here in a couple of days, we'll have the year-to-date numbers. Look, we're at 0.7 year over year as far as an average sold price. And that's pretty good. So the month of December, sure, we're down 0.6%. Not a whole lot. It's $5,000. It's not a massive shift. It's not like, that's not like we're seeing, the absolute bottom fall out. You can clearly see that that's, just a small number. But unless you have the big picture behind it, you don't fully understand. And it's important to understand where we've come from and where we're going to go and balancing that out. And that's why, again, this is a little bit different than we normally do. All right. So if we come back and we take a look at InfoSparks and we go back for the homes for sale. So again, this is normally peak of summer. And then of course we hit, end of year, peak of summer, end of year, peak of summer, and you get the gist of it, right? And so we had a really good number of homes that actually came on sale. This is a big deal for a lot of buyers. And some of you are, again, indicating, okay, yeah, that's all great and fine. Danny, George, what the hell does that mean and why is it important? So in the narrative, it said, look, our first-time home buyers going to be a dominant force. So remember, and go back to last year. Watch what I did last year as far as year end and first part of January. Here's the thing. So funny enough, first-time home buyers, and that's why affordable housing is super important. That's, again, as we look at the charts here, when first-time home buyers go from an 18 to 21% of a marketplace, and they shoot up 38, 39%, that is a market shift, whether we're coming into a better market or going out of a market. And that is a super important metric that we watch. So as we start to see a lot of first-time buyers coming in, when the first-time buyers come in, they will take up and become a dominant market share in the 38, 39 percentile. And then as we start to shift, again, continuing that market, we shift into the move-up buyers or the downsizers and things like that. Then the first-time home buyers will take a back seat, and they'll actually get back down to the 20, 21%. And those move-up buyers will become the 38, 39, sometimes 40% of the market. And then as the market starts to shift again, like what we've seen first-time home buyers coming back in again. So when we talk about inventory, we talk about marketplace, and we take a look at the demographic of homes that are available, okay? Super important to take a look at when we see here what price point is actually selling. So if we take a look at a dynamic number, which are pending sales, we can see where we're at, what's going on. And the super key important thing when we see this is that you will actually watch the market transform, both coming in, first-time home buyers, market becomes really good. First, move-up buyers, market stays good. All of a sudden, first-time buyers are coming in again, and all of a sudden we start to swing back out again. And that is a very common thing, because when we take a look at days on market, let's go to average. Here we go, right? So here we go. This is days on market, low numbers, summer. There we go. First time, first year. Again, that's where our market starts to shift down. And this is why the spring market, which is right here, and you see those numbers improve. And that is consistent all the way through. And you're not seeing anything earth-shattering. I could take you back, I think, 15 years, and you would see these same metrics. Again, it's important to understand where we came from to understand where we're going. Because as we start to see this start to swing, and as we come over here, and if I take a look at days on market to list price, okay, sure, we have seen a little bit of a list to sales price, a little more than I expected at 95% for today, but we're only down technically year over year. We're only 1% off. So if a house is listed at 100,000, last year it sold at 99,000, and this year it's selling at 98,000 average. For this month, we're at 95%. So we've seen a little bit of an adjustment, but that's also seasonally normal. We're only, 2% off, or, 2 points off from where we were at last year. It's not horrible by any stretch. And in fact, if we head over to this one right here, these guys are saying in November, our year over year, they said we're down 1.3%. Yeah, I think that's a little high. And again, this is all of Washington State. Richmond said it was at 0.2%. But look, when we talk about increasing numbers, so Bellingham was at a plus 4.4%. Bremerton Silverdale is up 1.4%. And then, of course, Tumwater says here that we're at a 0.3%. I guess I got to remove myself so you can see that. There you go. All right. So here we go. We've got Bellingham at 0.4. Then we have 1.4, 0.3. And then, of course, over here in Yakima, Spokane saw a 0.3 increase. So again, those numbers aren't scary at all. Here's the where we were talking about Seattle. It says, hey, we're down 1.3%. Not an uncommon thing. If I come over here and I take Norada, these guys, we actually, funny enough, Norada and I, we actually have a very similar outlook many times, many years of expectation. And again, when they're quoting part of the Zillow and whatnot, and what their expectation is, I totally agree. The biggest thing right now, as always, okay, is mortgage rates. So I'm going to get back to these guys, and let's take a look at mortgage rates. So right now we're at 6.18%. That is just an amazing number. Okay, when we come down, and even though it says, hey, look, we're at 0.67 better rate than where we were at last year, right? So right now it says, hey, you're at 6.18. When we go to last year, January, let's go down here. There we go, 6.85. Okay, In January, it bumped up to 7.04. I continue to see and foresee us continuing down because some of the metrics that we are seeing with a lot of the the unemployment numbers, inflation numbers, the GDP almost at 4%, which is a pretty amazing number. Those numbers are going to play into it. The Feds, which don't affect mortgage rates. Remember, two different things. Feds are short-term, your car loans, credit cards, HELOCs, or home equity line of credit, what banks lend to, and what when you do construction, commercial construction or commercial financing, that's the rate they affect, not long-term mortgage rates. Those are publicly traded. But you can see, get rid of myself here. You can see how we've been heading in a downward trend, which is super awesome, right? And that means that the first-time home buyers that are sitting on the sidelines, when we come and we take a look at the Zillow number, it was Redfin that said, hey, there's on the U.S. housing side, there's 37% more sellers than buyers. Okay, well, this is not Washington State. This is nationwide. The zero line is balanced. These are fewer sellers. This is greater sellers, right? 2020, this is when we had a massive amount of people that listed their home because rates dropped. And of course, then as everything sold, we lost inventory, right? Now they're saying, hey, we're back up, to higher numbers. But that's not really the case in Washington State. And we'll get to that here in a second. Actually, let's just throw you real fast. We look here, we had 111 homes that came on market just in the last 7 days. But look at this. Here's our pendant, 496. That's almost 500. That's almost 5x. That's a big number, right? Okay. When we come back and we take a look at the number of buyers hit the lowest level in record. Okay. Well, again, that's in certain markets, and that's what's going to be important as you're looking at the news. This happens to be, areas of, I had to go back through it again, but anyway, they're talking about a lot of areas that are excluded of us. They talk about Austin, Texas being the best market, along with Nassau County being the strongest sellers market. Not uncommon. When we pop over and we take a look at Zillow and their forecast, okay, they're saying that they expect home values to rise 1.2% in 2026, with existing home sales growing 4.3 to 4.26. Let's call it, just 4.25%. I agree with that. And I think that at the end of the day, that's going to have a really big impact on first-time home buyers because everything is going to be focused there, and then everything translates and moves forward. And we're going to see that shift when we pop back out and we take a look at when they talk about rent burden, they're talking about an increase in rent. Again, that's from different area to different area, but we are going to see a modest increase in our area, in the Puget Sound area and whatnot. We are seeing quite a bit of new construction still happening. And in fact, that's what they're talking about here when they talk about 2025 having affordable, relief with some softening of pricing because we had more resales coming on the market, right? They're thinking that fewer markets are going to slide. I don't think we're going to slide. I think that our area is absolutely going to go up. Zillow says nationally 1.2%. I'm thinking that we're going to be probably closer to the 3% mark. Last year, I figured we would hit 4 to 5%. We missed that one a little bit, but because we were pretty flat in a lot of different ways. Mortgage rates at 6%. I 100% agree with that. And in fact, again, we said that we were going to be in the low sixes towards the end of this year, and we're definitely there. I think that in 2026 Q1, based on numbers, I think we're going to dip into the high fives briefly, very brief, and I think it'll be just don't blink brief. and as we do that, we're going to start to see some of our sideline inventory, which is really kind of the big thing. Most buyers have been sitting on the sidelines, waiting for better rates, waiting for things to level out, making sure they still have a job. But we have seen a 30% increase in mortgage applications. That's a big number. Now you might be saying, okay, why is that important? That That's important because buyers are now making mortgage applications. They're going to the bank saying, hey, I'm thinking about buying a home. I need to get pre-approved. I need to get my loan information in place. That is a 30% increase. That's a big, big number. That tells you how many buyers are sitting on the sidelines, even though, we've got some listings that have been increasing. And as rates start to come down and stay down, and that assurance that, hey, all of the layoffs have kind of leveled out and people have the security, hey, I'm going to stay home, we're going to see some good numbers. So let's get show on the road here again. All right. Now, as we come down, we talk about builders pumping the brakes. Yes and no in our area. We've seen some really good numbers. Absolutely agree that one of the biggest things is that we've seen some massive incentives offered by buyers, and that is a big, big deal. Okay. If we come back here and we talk about, what sellers can and buyers can expect, they're saying the same thing, right? We're going to see that, again, more of the healing, more of the balanced out sellers, as long as they don't think crazy numbers, and they think, logically what buyers are going to pay in the market, they're going to do super well. Remember, okay, guys, this is economics 101, right? Marketing 101. Buyers make the market. Sellers take. They're takers of the market. Okay. If a store is selling soup and it's not selling, and the buyers are saying no for a $1.10 a can, but then they say, hey, you know what, 99 cents, and they just go flying off the shelf. Look, buyers are super smart. They're just like you. They're freaking smart, and they know what a good value is and what is not. And with all of the information that is available online like this, you're going to be able to make even better decisions. They know what a good value is. So as a seller, overpricing is the kiss of death. Remember, if your home sells in the first 7 days, you're going to get between 100 and 107% of list price. Remember that number. You miss that mark, you go out to 20 days. Look, you're only going to look at 96, 98% of list price. So being on market that much longer, you've already lost 2 to 4%. Plus now you're in a negative negotiating position. You miss that mark, you go over 40 days. You're only going to look at 92, maybe 93% of list price. I can prove this and have proven this to sellers time and time and time again, in why time on market is directly proportional to the dollar in your pocket. Remember that. Super important. All right. So when we come back and we take a look at what the bottom line is overall, this is, I always forget his name, Marco. So Marco, super smart guy. I love his point of view. He and I absolutely mirror each other's comments. Says the bottom line, overall, my take is the housing market for 2026, particularly from Zillow points towards the period of healing and stabilization. I wholeheartedly agree. The most significant takeaway for me is the projected decrease in homeowners falling to negative equity. Now, negative equity are going to be more the folks that bought within the last year or so that are having this, but that's also why refinances are up 40 some odd percent. And that's why they're now benefiting. When they were in the 7.25, now they're in the 6 1/8, 6 1/4. They drop a full 1%. And that's why those are so hot. Without a doubt, that has a huge impact on what's going to go on. So if we come back and we take a look at our chart here, let me get that. Let me move myself back off. Here we go. And as you can see, our sales are very consistent. We had more. The light green is the active. The blue, that's the homes online or coming on market, new on market. Again, this is situation normal. Here it is here, and here it is here. So it's a freaking mirror of itself. We come down. Look, for actual pended sales, we're up a couple of hundred homes. Yay. But we're down about 300 homes, year over year as far as actual sold. Here, again, we're talking about a nominal number, 100 homes, right? Here we're talking about an increase of 11%. Yeah, okay, so we're looking at 300 homes. Okay, we'll just shy of that. But anyway, that gives you a very clear understanding. We're doing actually pretty darn good, all things considered. When we take a look at our November numbers, we did well. We were off on the solds, but remember, this is went under contract in October, and that's the solds that we would see in November. And that's, again, situation 100% normal. When we take a look at days on market, we have the same cycle, okay? And in fact, just a little bit better than where we were at, okay? Not by much, as far as over January. November, we were higher, but December, again, not uncommon. So these numbers, looking at as far as days on market at 58, last year we were at 47. It's a little bit of a difference. Some of that had to do with rate. Most of it had to do with the the expectation of what they were looking at for pricing. When their pricing was too high, that's what ends up happening. Okay, you can't overprice your home. Hands down, you can't overprice. Keep that in mind. Now, if you're asking, is it still time to buy new construction? The answer is yes. In fact, you'll see, and we've been talking to a lot of builders, their pricing will hold through December for a lot of extra pricing to clear off some of the plats. Just understand, work with somebody who's familiar with working with builders. That's my one thing there. Okay, so let's just recap. 2026, what do we think is going to happen? I think that we're going to continue to see rates in the low sixes as we predict. I think we're going to dip down maybe into the high fives briefly. Don't blink. Property values, I think we're going to see a 3% increase year over year next year. I think we're going to just head in. We're going to continue to see some of that recovery that we saw in 2024. 2025 is just very much a mirror of it. Okay. If you have any questions, reach out. Put your questions down below. We love to talk to people. We answer every single one of them. In the meantime, have an absolutely amazing new year in 2026. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be super exciting. Don't miss out, and make sure that you subscribe. Ring that bell so others get this information. There's no marketing here. Solid information. Let's just make sure everybody gets that same opportunity to get some good info. In the meantime, I'll talk to you on the next video. Have a great day. Take care.